as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
A beautiful morning to you. Welcome to VOP This Morning. I am Moses Humphrey, and on the show this morning, Ndume reveals El-Rufai's woes tied to betrayal of Amechi. And also, Governor Otto backs Ukachukwu, vows to deliver Tinubu's mandate. PDP power struggle deepens as majority of NWC reject Anyanwu's return. But we hear that Anyanwu has officially been selected as the national secretary of the PDP. So the issue is settled. Oh well, these are the conversations we will focus on this Thursday morning. It's the 26th day in the month of June, 2025.
And I'm Fina Okechukwu. For you to be part of today's conversation, do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've not done that, the YouTube channel is Voice of the People TV, well spelled out, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. We also have a website where you can get fresh and trending stories. The website is www.vop.ng. You can also call in during this particular program and subsequent ones for your opinion also to be taken note of. You can call the number is scrolling on your screen for your active participation, or you send us a 1-minute video of yourself reacting to any of the topic of conversation that tickles your fancy. And talking about other trending stories, the Nigerian Senate has approved the 1.485 trillion naira budget for River State for the 2025 fiscal year, following the third reading of the appropriation bill and the adoption of an ad hoc committee report. The budget submitted by President Bola Tinubu after the suspension of the State House of Assembly and the nullification of a prior version by the Supreme Court. It marks 120.8 billion naira for debt servicing. I'll take that again. This particular budget of 1.4 trillion naira, it marked 120.8 billion naira for debt servicing, 287.38 billion naira for recurrent expenditure, and significant 1.077 trillion naira for capital projects. Senator Abdul Ningi voiced concern over an added 50 billion naira for outstanding pensions and gratuities, urging the Senate to intensify oversight to ensure the funds benefit actual retirees. With Senate approval secured, the budget now awaits assent and implementation, marking a crucial step in stabilizing governance in the politically embattled oil-rich state. Interesting story here, but the question is, when Similai Fubara was the governor of the state before his suspension, I believe the people of the state actually were not, privy to the notice or to information that he's owing debt amounting to 120.8 billion naira, that this particular project now have to bring out this money to service the debts. That's one part. And again, looking at what have been earmarked for the recurring expenditure, 28.7.38 billion naira, some persons also of the opinion that, okay, fine, maybe it's a good line in the right direction, but having 50 billion naira also infused in this budget for, outstanding pensions and gratuity. I'm happy that Abdul Ningi also voiced concern about this particular one. One thing is not about the money that we've seen being infused in this particular budget, but we're looking at the implementation. How would these monies be used? Are they going to be utilized properly? Or are we going to get stories tomorrow, over the fact that the monies were not being used the way or for the things or the papers where it was being penned down for? And also the committee, the ad hoc committee in charge, I've also told Nigerians that they are going to see to it to make sure that this particular budget that they've assented to, that is waiting for, appendix of the president's signature, appendage of the president's signature and all that, will now, they say they are going to monitor it to make sure that everything actually is being utilized the way it should be. And I asked the question some time ago, how then are they going to be able to manage that with their own constituency projects, with their representation in the House and the whole lot? And someone said something, they'll be able to do it. It's also part of their constitutional duties to make sure that all that, as a member of the ADO committee, that all that they've agreed that they are going to do, that they will make sure they see to it. But I believe pensioners in River State will not come up tomorrow to start telling Nigerians that the gratuity they've not received, their pensions they've not received, even when we have 50 billion naira being marked for outstanding payment of these pensions and gratuity.
Let me pick up from something like a question you asked. How will they be able to hold the government accountable for this? How will they be able to monitor the expenditure of some of the things in the budget? Well, unfortunately, the people cannot, because who will they hold responsible? The military administrator, the sole administrator, or will they hold the? Well, of course, the governor is out of it. The elected governor is out of this. So talking about implementation, if questions are to arise, then the federal government will be held accountable. But can the people hold federal government accountable for not, meeting up with for not meeting up with things set in the budget? I don't think that is possible. But anyway, it's a humongous sum. It's a groundbreaking amount, 1.485 trillion naira for River State. It's a humongous budget. I think this should be the biggest ever in River State. And talking about the debts and other things that are in there, well, we'll just wait to see how all of this will be executed. But looking at this, as far as I'm concerned, this has nothing to do with the people. This has nothing to do with, what the people stand to benefit. Yes, construction, infrastructure will be developed, infrastructure will be looked into, but the welfare of the people, I don't see this budget capturing all of that. This budget is just basically to keep the state running, to keep oil production going, and keep the money coming in, and not really about the people. I'm sure the people want their elected government reinstalled. I'm sure that's what the people want. But, well, this, of course, it's the president that presented this in the first instance, so it will be assented to as speedily as it was approved by the Senate in all of this. Well, let's move on to other conversations. Now, we'll keep our eyes on River State, of course. And I have strong feelings that the sole administrator, his tenure, the initial 6 months might be extended. My thoughts, it might be extended.
That depends on what similar Ifubara actually accepts, whether he agreed with the terms and conditions.
Yeah, he's been in talks. He's been in talks. But what does that portend for democracy? That's the question. That's the big question. Well, let's get into other conversations now. A leading figure in the All Progressive Congress APC, Salihu Nataro, has stirred what we call political waters with a bold call for Vice President Kashim Shettima to resign ahead of the 2027 elections. Nataro, a former Kebbi State governorship aspirant, claimed Shettima's political relevance is waning within the Tinubu administration, and that high-level party discussion suggests the president's confidence in his deputy has diminished, framing the resignation as a selfless gesture rather than a reaction to internal power plays. Nataro said Shettima should step down out of gratitude and to preserve the integrity of the renewed hope agenda. Well, his comments come amid swelling speculation of a shakeup in the APC presidential ticket following strategic meetings in Gombe and across the north, where party leaders reportedly floated alternative candidates for the vice presidency. Well, that's Salihu Nataro's opinion. I don't think it would be in the favor of Shettima, the Vice President Kashim Shettima, to throw in the towel at this point. I don't think it would be in his favor, politically speaking. I think it would be best for him to, keep his fingers crossed and remain where he is and see how things play out. President Tinubu, is not one to put out his cards all at once, and he's one to, you know, pander to things the way they come. All right, he might be looking at a certain direction, and then when the tide shifts, he might just go the other way. All right, he's not one that is fixed in his ways. He's like the bamboo tree, according to a Chinese proverb, that the bamboo tree bends to the elements. You know, it's not rigid like the oak tree. So the president might be considering someone else. Like we've heard that there is a possibility that the president might be courting pardon?
Rabiu Kwankwaso.
Rabiu Kwankwaso of the NNPP. Yes, there's that conversation. But when you put out the chess, the political chess, it's possible that in the days ahead, the president might just feel like, okay, this doesn't seem like it's going to get me all the votes I want. This already, we're having dissenting voices within the APC. Those that are in favor of Shettima are already, you know, chanting, we no go agree, you know, and those that are, you know, so the president might consider all of this in the long run and decide to just retain Shettima. And of course, Shettima will be a good ally. You know, it will be terrible to make an enemy out of his current vice, talking about going into 2027. It will be terrible to make an enemy out of him, as that will further tear the party. You know, that would further tear the party apart. So, my opinion, in conclusion, Shettima should just stay where he is and play his own politics from within.
Do you think that the master strategist, like some APC stalwarts have called the president, you know, do you think that he now, as a master strategist, is going to be scared of whatever thing is it that someone that he ousted will be bringing to the table? If the president believes that maybe Shettima is not going to get him the needed vote for the 2027 election, that to change the person, this is not the first time he's doing it. As a governor of Lagos State, he did it multiple times before the 8 years elapsed.
That was a different terrain.
Is he the same person that we're talking about here? Yes.
It was a different terrain in Lagos. It was a different terrain in Lagos.
The only painful part of it is the fact that APC, instead of them to, you know, focus on governance, they are only talking about 2027.
Oh well.
And when
politics.
Nigerians come up to say, it's more like they are jittery over this particular permutation about possible coalition or merger that some persons who are also of the northern element are championing in Nigeria. They will come up to say, we are not and we can never be. But from the look of things, I don't know okay, if I'm to ask, what's wrong is it that Shettima has done? Shettima was the one that Nigerians or some persons never wanted him to be there because of the fact that we knew how the stories about him and Shakaru happened then in Borno State when he was the governor of the state. Well, what happened at the end of the day? We saw him become the vice president of Nigeria.
If I'm to answer the question that you were to ask, if you had asked, if I'm to answer the question, it's not about wrong or right.
Oh, it's
about political permutations. It's about, to be honest, all right, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is all about 2027. I mean, he's all about retaining power in 2027. And of course, we can see the coalition. You know, he made a statement about the coalition at a commission in Nasarawa State. You know, it shows that the president is concerned, in as much as he might say, oh no, I don't care. These are, I think he called them political IDPs. That's quite a tough stance. That's a tough statement to make. But I think he's concerned. So he's trying to play in such a way that he doesn't offend too many people and lose out in the long run. You know, he would not want to destroy his chances. But of course, like you rightly pointed out, he's been touted to be a strategist, and truly he is. When it comes to, you know,
the dirty politics of Nigeria, don't say he's not the politics that we all know. When it comes to, you know, yes, what we play in Nigeria as a politics.
When it comes to politics,
you know, yes.
I don't know whether it's dirty or clean. Politics in itself is dirty.
Okay. Okay.
You know, but when it comes to politics, he's a strategist. He knows what Nigerian politicians want, and he's giving them what they want. Now,
which is?
Whatever they want. He's giving them what they want, the things they want, you know, the power they want, the financial muscle that they want. He's giving them all of these things. The protection that they want, you know, he's giving them some of, you know, all of these things. Now, I think Nigerians should be concerned about how this plays out in the long run. Will it be to the benefit of the generality of Nigerians or just a few people in politics? That's what we should be concerned about. About him being a strategist, yes, he is.
Generality of the Nigerian minds and all that. You know, you can recall that, I think after the June 12 statement of the president, or by the president, that, you know, he's happy, it's his pleasure that opposition parties are in disarray. The following day, we saw chairs being stoned. You know, something actually started happening in APC, more like into the wrangling surface suddenly, you know, to the point that some persons were angered that he actually was the only person that the likes of Ganduje and the deputy chairman, national chairman of APC, were championing, saying that on his mandate, what happened to Shettima? And that speaks volume to the point that some persons will be aggrieved with this particular move if it is not being resolved properly. And also, the whole of the Northeast actually is bigger than one single state. Kind of state.
Absolutely.
And I'm also in doubt, although yes, everyone in Nigeria, according to what they will say, all politicians in Nigeria have their prize, just state it, name it, to be given to you. Now, how can the national president or national chairman of NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, wake up and say, I am forgetting about the Kwankwasia movement and I'm moving into APC? He left APC for that particular party. Are we going to see him again, go back again because of higher bid or maybe a more presentable offer of becoming the vice president? These are things that we need to look at. Also, don't forget that the national chairman of APC he happens to be Kwankwaso's boy, if I'm to use that word, but they have been a loggerhead. Kwankwaso brought Ganduje in Kano State. And since then, they fall apart. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. But let's see how all this actually will happen. If, for example, Sheriff Oburvori and then author Ifan Yokowa could move over to Omar Gege's camp in APC
I'm glad you're
we'll have to wait for that election to happen. What I'm waiting for is for that election time to get to.
Let me remind you.
Okay.
Before the 2023 elections, you know, the president largely did not get support from the stalwarts in the APC. They were not on his side. You know, he even considered running under SDP.
But a particular man made it possible. A particular man who actually is angered with his own, let's say his principles or his way of handling it, made it happen.
He had a lot of pushback.
Oh, okay.
But he got in there regardless. He performed
the magic. Remember that actually, Nigerians are aware that even, the person who said, he said it himself, said, I brought this upon Nigeria. He played the role when people were kind of mum about, I'm talking about El-Rufai, Nasser El-Rufai. Even when other political bigwigs in APC were mum about who's going to be the person that will pick that ticket in APC and all that, he actually started to talk about it. And guess what happened? Today, he's with SDP. And then he's also there bringing... Anyway, some person was saying that these are actually ways Nigerian politicians walk in and how they do their politics. Well, let's see. Nigerians are wiser, if you ask me. I say Nigerians are wiser. And Nigerians are the ones that dictate or decide who will be there. Even with the electoral umpire and their, will I say, they are behind or closed doors meeting and all that.
The onus falls on Nigerians now to determine who they want to govern them.
Exactly.
And like I have said 1,000,000 times, and I will say it 1,000,000 more, it's up to you. If you decide not to vote, then you make it easy for those, those that want to rig the elections to rig effectively. But if you go out and cast your vote, now let me see if I can do this in less than a minute. If, for example, you have 1,000 registered voters in a place, a PU, and 1,000 of those registered voters come out to vote and cast their vote and stay to ensure that it is transmitted, do whatever it is. It will be difficult I'm not saying it's impossible, because we do the impossible in Nigeria. It will be difficult for INEC or whoever or anybody to put up 2,000 votes from a place that has registered 1,000 voters. It will be difficult for INEC to say, look, we had 2,000 votes from this place. It will be difficult. But if you decide not to come up, if out of 1,000 registered voters in a particular place, you have only 300 voters that come to cast their vote for their preferred candidate, then 700 spaces will be left for whoever has the power to play around with. And then the result will come out and you will say, oh, they already knew who would be there, so there was no need me going to vote. Don't do that in 2027. Let's not do that to ourselves. Let's come out, regardless of, and you see, it's because these politicians, they know these things. That's why they push out those hoodlums that, that would want to chase you away from the voting centers and the rest, to ensure that you don't cast your vote. So they can play with the papers, they can play with the numbers. But if you insist, cast your vote, then it will be a whole lot more difficult for them to play around with. So it's all in our hands, really. 2027, it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to all of us. Register, get your card, get your voter's card, and cast your vote. Well, let's move on to another conversation now. President Bola Tinubu is set to sign 4 transformative tax reform bills into law today, actually, marking a major shift in Nigeria's fiscal architecture, according to Presidential Advisor Bayo Ononuga. The bills, passed after extensive stakeholder consultations, include the Nigeria Tax Bill, Ease of Doing Business, a bill, sort of. Now, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, that's the one that changes the name from FIRS to Nigeria NRS, yeah. That's it, Nigeria Revenue Service, and then unifies the collection of taxes, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, all of it. Now, we've talked about this, we've deliberated on this, it has gone through thorough scrutiny, and now it's been passed. I think there's nothing more to do here. Well, together, all of these bills aim to streamline tax operations, reduce compliance burdens, and boost investor confidence by creating what has been called a unified and transparent revenue system. Now, the signing ceremony at the presidential villa will be attended by key political and economic figures, including Senate President, House Speaker, top legislative finance leaders, governors. A lot of people would be there. But anyway, this is just, it's long in coming. It's here now, so we'll just have to embrace it. So, kudos.
I don't have issues with the bills, finally, that's going to be signed today. But the issue I have is the fact that it's going to be...
You have issues with this one?
It's going to be a ceremony, signing ceremony. That's the only problem I have, like, seriously speaking, as the case may be.
It was thoroughly debated.
And because of that, what then happened?
The signing should be celebrated.
Oh God, imagine we have a bill at this point in time that Nigeria has deliberated on, and at the end of the day we've agreed, we've finally decided to let this bill, let's give it a chance. Let's see how it goes. And boom, you're celebrating it. You're going to go in to have a celebratory ceremony of this particular one at the presidential villa. And no one is telling Nigerians how much this ceremony is going to cost, because most times you hear, yes, because it's money that we're talking about here. Taxpayers' money that is being borrowed, and people are talking about how these monies are being utilized or used. And we're seeing a ceremony now. Tomorrow is Friday. If they are to tell you how much is spent on this particular signing ceremony in Nigeria, you will not believe it.
I know.
That's where my problem is. finally we've agreed on this bill to be there. So why not go to where it should be? Why won't the president get to his office and sign this bill? And then finally at the end of the day, snap pictures and send to us. The media will talk about it and case closed. Why host a feast for us to sign tax reform bills in Nigeria? That's all I have as a challenge to this one.
Okay, that's your challenge. All right then. Well, let's move on to, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll look at the papers. Join us again. Now let's get into the papers proper. We have the Metrics newspaper, and the headlines here: Tinubu to sign 4 tax bills into law today. Don't focus on solid minerals and leave agriculture, Tinubu tells Governor Sule. Inaugurates multi-billion Lafia flyover underpass. 2027 elections, 110 groups seeking registration as political parties. INEC, that's Fresh Crisis rocks PDP. NWC rejects Anyanwu's reinstatement. NEC meeting postponement. Wike blasts Damagun. You can't direct Anyanwu to resume. Okay. Amid looming lawsuit, multi-choice slashes DSTV decoder price by 50%. Okay. Tinubu congratulates Sanwo-Olu, Gbajabiamila on birthdays. And in entertainment, Iris Star joins Viola Davis, Idris Elba in Children of Blood, Bone. Dozens of bandits, soldiers killed in fierce battle in Niger, Kaduna. Super Eagles star Moses Simon joins Paris FC in 3-year deal. Well, those are the headlines from the Metrics newspaper.
Up next is the Daily Trust newspaper, and just beneath the masthead, Tinubu to sign tax reform bills today. Party registration, ADA obedience among 110 applicants, INEC. Running mate, I will do whatever Tinubu wants in 2027. That's coming from Barau. The bold headline, soldiers bandits in bloody clash in Niger. Many feared dead. PDP, 11 National Working Committee members disown Damagun, rejects Anyanwu's restatement. Interesting. 5 arrested over death of 2 Kano youth. Landmine explosion kills 4, injures 10 in Borno. PDP chieftain, son, shot dead in Kwara State. Those are the stories on the cover page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
And of course, more commissioning will be taking place as President Tinubu to commission Kubo Bus Terminal today in Abuja. That one takes up the cover page of the Vanguard newspaper. Minister Wike is spending a lot of money. I don't know. It's money for the papers, but this just sort of concerns me. Anyway, I'll quickly move away from the Vanguard and go to the Daily Independent. They have some headlines for us. INEC receives 110 applications for political party registration. I would like to see vibrant opposition, says Tinubu. Assents to 4 tax bills today. Mourns ex-governor Adebayo. Again, tomatoes are now luxury in Nigerian kitchens. Families switch to substitutes as price soars. Stakeholders finger insecurity. Policy gaps. Post-harvest losses. Say FG must treat production as national food security issue. Oh well. 2027, I'll be Tinubu's running mate if he asked me to. Barayu. Controversy trails $300 helicopter levy as Nama issues 7-day ultimatum. LP caucus decries demolition of Obi family's property. NEPZA. FG committee, Dangote refinery, FZE, mall crushing petroleum products prices. And then another big story there. National Secretary position, PDP crisis worsens as NWC members disagree on Anyanwu. And the bottom strip, Senate passes 1.48 trillion naira Rivers 2025 budget.
The Guardian newspaper is up next, and we have the window headlines to be obedient. ADA 108 orders apply to INEC for registration. New tax regime underway as Tinubu signs bills into law today. 17 soldiers killed in Niger as troops foil attack. Amid weak social services, states stake nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. Over 91% of FX liquidity outside formal banking system, APCON claims. FG to hold manufacturers, importers responsible for plastic pollution. Nigerians can't make progress without efficient civil service, says Alake. All right, there's a breakdown of the 200 billion naira that is being used for renovation in some states. The three states may spend 122.7 billion on office renovation in 3 years. States to spend 22% of budgets on health education. 6 trillion naira allocation to 2 critical growth sectors. And then governors may depends in capital votes to fund vanities. Interesting. Minister seeks alignment of military training with national security objectives. Damagun, PDP National Working Committee on rapath over Anyango's reinstatement, NEC meeting. And those are the headlines on the cover page of the Guardian newspaper. And that's how far we can go, looking at the cover page of the national dailies. Do well to join newspaper review proper. There you have in-depth analysis of the stories that got to the front pages of the national dailies today. And we'll go on a quick break to betrayal of Amechi. Do well to stay with us.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
Is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health, without distinction of race, religion, or political belief. On VOP TV, we bring you Health Check, a show that x-rays different health issues and provides solutions with the help of experts in the medical field. Join us every Saturday, 2 p.m. on Health Check. Health Check on VOP TV. Your health, our priority. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more.
Join me on Sundays every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People TV.
Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. Thanks for joining us again. Now, let's get into the conversation. Senator Alain Dume has attributed the political setbacks of former Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai to what he describes as a betrayal of former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. Dume, who led Amechi's 2022 presidential campaign, revealed on television that El-Rufai initially pledged allegiance to their camp during consultations, but later defected to support Bola Tinubu, while noting that he harbors no ill will The Borno South senator believes El-Rufai's current struggles, including his failed ministerial confirmation, are a case of nemesis. Well, according to Ndume, El-Rufai not only switched camps abruptly, but also played a pivotal role in Tinubu's campaign, only to be sidelined after the victory. He recalled the Senate nearly confirming El-Rufai before his nomination was ultimately rejected, suggesting the fallout was self-inflicted. Well, now a member of the Social Democratic Party and a vocal critic of Tinubu, and also El-Rufai has links to the new political party, ADA. Well, El-Rufai has severe ties with the ruling APC, and he did what he did, and now he's facing the consequences. This is according to Aline Dume. Oh well, we have with us, to make sense of it all, Daily Fanimo, a seasoned reporter, a social and political critic. He joins us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Moses and Fina.
We also have Dr. Ganiu Luashola, Managing Partner, KJB Professional Services. Good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Morning.
And it's good to be in your midst. And you have great smile this morning.
Oh.
I think it's the end of the month. There's some rubber salary has entered.
The president is going to have a ceremony to sign in the bill. That's why we're happy.
With the signing of, with the budget, the 1.485 trillion naira budget in River State, we know that salaries will be paid and all of that. It might trickle down.
And allocation will come to you.
You never can tell. You never can tell.
Association.
By association. Oh well, now let's talking about association.
Yes.
Let me start off with you, Mr. Fanimo. Talking about association, we've seen El-Rufai, scamper from here to there a lot of times. And one of the reasons pundits gave for his rejection as a minister is the fact that he is largely untrustworthy. Do you think that has played out in his? Do you think that is the reason, he's running around now? Do you think that truly is why he seems to be an orphan, a political orphan, as it were? And should he, considering the fact that he campaigned vigorously for Tinubu in 2023, some still say he has quite the numbers, he has quite the following. Should President Tinubu be concerned if he's now campaigning against him as he is?
Now, let me profile El-Rufai, the bit I've read about him and I've seen about him. In Obasanjo's book, this was how he described El-Rufai. He said, I recognize his weaknesses, the worst being his inability to be loyal to anybody or any issue consistently for long. But he now said further, he lies brazenly, which he did to me against his colleagues and so-called friends. I have heard of how he ruthlessly savaged the reputation of his uncle, a man who, in an African setting, was like a foster father to him. I shuddered when I heard the story of what he did to his half-brother in the Air Force, who is senior to him in age. From this, Obasanjo worked with El-Rufai, and El-Rufai was brought by by Atiku into that government. It was in the UK when they brought him. One good thing about Obasanjo is that he also admitted that he's a brilliant and talented person in that write-up. Now, what that tells you is that though it's a virtue in politics to be disloyal, to be inconsistent. Yes, as far as Nigerian politics is concerned. You don't go to the grave with the corpse in politics. But then, it gets to a point that if you go around and do the same thing, you'll be profiled along that line. Now, El-Rufai didn't support Tinubu, but he was goaded to do it. And also, because of his unbridled greed to be part of the lot, he supported openly the candidacy of, during the primaries of Amici. But when Tinubu, against his wish, when Tinubu emerged, he had no choice.
Yeah.
No, he didn't switch camp. Which other camp is there for him to switch to when a candidate has emerged? And so he had to play along. It's not the only person that had their finger burnt. Look at Fayemi. Fayemi is stranded today. Openly, they were campaigning against Tinubu before he got that ticket. And doing such thing is like a coup in the military. If you plan a coup and you don't succeed, you take the consequence.
When you say El-Rufai did not support Tinubu before the elections, some persons also have come up to say that El-Rufai played a vital role for Tinubu actually to become the flag bearer or the ticket owner of that. You know, given the fact that even the presidency at that time never wanted him to be there, from what was seen, the body language, but it was only El-Rufai that could confront the former president, go into a closed-door meeting with him to talk about so many other things, even when we're having cash crunch in Nigeria. Actually, it was there, and he was, you know, he was applauded for such a movement.
You see, we chronicle these stories. We write these stories. And I've been everything in this job. You can fly a kite. You can pay for your image to be burnished. But the truth is, it is clear that this guy never supported Tinubu. But at the point Tinubu got that ticket, he knew that they had to ride with him so that he can get the maximum benefit that he expected.
And he rode hard. He campaigned hard afterwards. You know, he campaigned
hard. One of the
fortiest
loss of power is.
Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. Now, Doctor, considering the fact that he's been described as one that cannot be loyal for long, should Atiku be troubled? He's also been described as Atiku's Man Friday.
Did he not betray Atiku?
But now he's still with Atiku. So should Atiku be troubled?
So when we talk about loyalty at times might be relative, right? Depending on the side of the coin in which you're looking at it. And so when you talk about loyalty, you can even say Atiku is not even loyal. Right? When we talk about how he has jumped from one party to another in order to be able to clinch the presidential ticket, right? And so and there's also this potential when El-Rufai, remember that this is the person that made him politically, right? It was the one that introduced him into politics. So he stands to, he hold him the benefits of that, to stand by him, to be able to help him clinch the ticket, especially when there was now a fallout between him and the current president, right? So he has no choice than to switch party, right? And when you look at what Indome was saying, he actually said it on a live TV, saying that before now, they were campaigning for Amechi before, but somehow, some way, El-Rufai dropped the ball and joined camp with the president, right, and move with him, right, and which we all see it during the cash crumb and every other thing that, this man actually helped the North to clinch the party ticket for APC. And so let us support him now. And he also withstood Buhari then, despite the fact that he was closer to Buhari, and said that, let's allow this man. He was the one that allowed most of us to get the party ticket and to become who we are today. So things fall out when they were. Ali Dume was saying that, he almost scaled through at the screening point, but however, like a film we watched many years ago, things fall apart. Right, things fell apart and he couldn't. And give it or take it. Ali Dume he has been in the political arena for a longer time, right? For long. And when you look at his political career, He has been around since 2003. Talking it up to now, that's almost 22 years that he has been. So because he started his career around 2003, right, when he was in the House of Representative, where he was representing, I think he was representing Chibok, Guazo, and Dambwa, the federal constituency. He was there for around 8 years. Then he switched his career, he has been in Senate since 2011, right? 2011 till date. In other words, he has been in Senate for around 14 years. He has been there. In 2017, he was suspended for 6 months, right? And he has been the vocal cord or vocal type in the party. And do not forget, he also switched from PDP to APC, and he was part of the founding fathers of APC, right? So, and he is coming out and saying that, oh, this man now, we can't also trust him because at the tail end, he disappointed us then. We don't know what could happen. He can switch. He's more or less like...
So we should consider his words.
No, because as at now, I think with the body language, I think El-Rufai is bent. And you could say he's bent and say that this is where I want to stand. Right? If you have options.
Is he? Because, I mean, he went to the SDP. I mean, he got into the SDP, and then he seems to... we don't know if he's with the SDP now or with ADA, because he's among those that have gone to register ADA. So is he bent on sticking to a particular place?
I think this is what, imagine we're having almost 110.
Yes, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
So I think it's a gimmick. Okay, let me tell you something that happened in my field. There's this there's this policy that said that 3 quotes must be submitted right before approving. You choose one of the 3 quotes, and then you choose the vendor out of the 3 quotes. But you must, is a standard and policy in every standard organization that any vendor must submit 3 quotes, and you make your choice out of it. So there are now some back arrangements say that, oh, you guys, you go and submit, make sure that you have 3 companies, submit the 3 quotes, and make sure your own company quoted lower than those 3 quotes, because we have an arrangement that it's your company we will engage. Okay. So it could also be like a plan, right? So now, thereafter, ADA will now say we support SDP, that we make SDP candidate our candidate. So it could also be a gimmick. So if the 3 political parties, 2 of them is saying that, oh, because we recognize the leader of this new party, so we are trying to relinquish our power to the ruling party because we believe in this party. It could also be a gimmick in the political arena.
Okay, let's x-ray the words of Ali Dume. You know, he says, I've attended coalition meetings. He has attended coalition meetings, but he still believes that Tinubu can do it if he decides to do it.
Who said so?
Ali Dume. Are you not privy to that?
Coalition meeting in this...
Ali Dume said, if you don't worry, I'll tell you about it if you haven't read about it. Ali Dume said that he has attended coalition meetings. Now, the fact that he has attended coalition meetings means that, you know, he's in talks with other people as well, you know, and, but how would you place his stance within the APC, knowing that he has been quite a dissenting voice within the APC? His words are, I've attended these meetings, you know, things are ongoing, but I still believe that Tinubu can make it work if he decides to. So, is he trying to save his head, or is it getting tougher in 2020? Is it going to get tougher in 2027? How would you assess that statement, considering the fact that a lot of political elite from the northern extraction seem to, you know, want to take power back to the north, regardless of whatever arrangement, you know, unwritten arrangement they have or Nigerians have, that this zone should serve this number of years and all of that. They all seem to want to take power back to the north. What are your permutations?
You see, Ndumi has been a voice for the North, no doubt about that. But he has not added depth to his voice. And so it's very easy most of the time to puncture his argument, because most times he thinks from his heart and not from his brain. I'm sorry to say this. So to that extent, let me tell you, politics is fluid. It's like a tide. It can move to the left and then turn back to the right, particularly in Nigeria, where there is no political party or any known structure. So Ali Ndume may have been called to some meetings, and he has every right to attend such meetings, because he was somewhere before he switched parties. And when we talk about switching parties, it is still the same players that are just changing club. Chelsea today, Man U tomorrow, Barca next day. So I'm not seeing anybody that had been thrown up in the political arena today that just came in about 2, 3, 5 years ago. They've always been there. They just manipulate us by changing parties. So, to your question, Ali Ndume, even if the devil comes today and announces in Nigeria that I am the devil sent from heaven by God and thrown out of the heaven palace, he will have followers. So to that extent, Ndume has followers. Just like El-Rufai has his own followers too. But the significance of those followers is now left to be determined through the outcome of their output during the election.
But from what Ndume said, he said that according to his words, based on what we're talking about, El-Rufai was with them, talking about putting all his, they put all their eggs in his own belief, or in his own basket, thinking that he's going to support Amechi for the 2023 election. And then he betrayed them. He moved with his own team and his own camp to the point that we have a president, Tinubu now, whom, according to El-Rufai, he said he brought to Nigeria. Now, with this particular, we have been getting permutation. Now, El-Rufai has fallen out of favor with the present administration. Not just him. It's more like some other political bigwigs from the North also are not happy with what is happening now, especially with this permutation about taking out the vice president and going further to picking someone else. Now, do you still think, at this point in time, that the words of the likes of Ali Ndume or other political bigwigs in the North is not going to have effect on this present presidential election that will be coming up in 2027?
Well, anything that is done in politics has implications. In fact, keeping silence in politics has its own implication. So there is nothing you want to talk about in politics that does not have its own implication.
So what implication do you think this move now have at this point?
The extent to which that would affect the target is now left to be determined.
All right.
You see, if just El-Rufai, I've seen election, not in politics, like boardroom election and all that. I've seen that just one vote determined the direction of policy. So, if you remove El-Rufai from the equation, you remove Ndume from the equation, it will naturally have its implication.
Okay. All right. Doctor, now let's talk about the coalition. Let's talk about the parties. 110 of them, according to INEC. Out of the 110, ADA is there. Shehu Kuti has, he's also registering a party. The Obedience are also registering a party as a political party. Some are of the opinion that all of this is just to divide the voters at the end of the day. That, at the end of the day, after a while, they might just collapse into a few parties and disappear. But what does this portend for our democracy, especially if the voters are divided?
That's a good question, right? You see, there are strategy, right? And everybody comes up with different strategy. You know, like the two parties that El-Rufai, the SDP and the ADA that El-Rufai is planting, you know, the ADA looks like a Hebrew precious female's name, Ada. so that's on a lighter note, right? So when you look at these people that are establishing the party or incorporating those parties, they've been around for a while. Like El-Rufai that we are talking about, he has been in the political arena since 1998, when he was 38 years. He was like economic advisor to Abdul Salam Abubakar then, right? And when he now came to full front in 2003, when he became FCT minister under the regime of Obasanjo, that helped him to drive some reform there. And they have their own loyalists, right? Because they've been around for a while, they have affected life, right? They have touched life, and they have had their own glitch. That's why at that arena, up till today, no president will come to Nigeria without visiting Aso Rock. Take it or leave it, because they still recognize the voice of the man, right? So, the voice of the man, that's Obasanjo, right? Okay. They still recognize him. So, at that point in time, they're establishing different political parties because there's no law that actually prohibits the number of political parties that can be incorporated or established, right? Because everyone, tomorrow we can decide to establish what we call
Voice of the People Party.
MFA, Moses Fina and right political party. Okay. So you understand, because there is no restriction in that space.
But what does this portend for the electorate?
So for the electorate also, it's just like when ACN and APC match together. They follow their their process. Yeah, they follow their process. That's why when there is issue between in Ondo State between when there was a cross-carpeting, and the party now the Supreme Court gave a judgment and said that, if you know that you have the potential, you have your own loyalists that brought you into power, leave that political party, go to the poll and test your popularity, right? So if you know that it's actually your popularity that brought you into power. So in this case, it's actually the individual. Like a saying also in another school of thought that the position does not make a man. It's a man that makes the position. So the person forming the political party is trying to tell, that is also a strength on a negotiation table, right? If you want me to merge with your party, what do I have at stake? Do you understand? What do I have at stake? Take for instance now, in future, maybe the ADA, they're trying to make name, and SDP comes, and they are featuring their own presidential candidate, and they want ADA to join them, so there will be a commitment. I cannot, it's a party they've established. I cannot circumvent my future because of you unless there's something in it for me. And so once they have something in it for them,
it's an avenue for people to get something come their way, to benefit from.
Those are strategy, because if you don't, like also in the school of value, if you don't have a value to be put on the table, you will not be relevant. So they would have already built their own loyalists and build their own party. And so when you want to come to a talk, take for instance Rabiu Kwakwanso, there's also in the news that it might likely to be the vice president in 2027, that they might likely sideline Shettima, right? Yes. So because he already pulled crowd, and they look at who in the north that we can talk to, right? And he has something he wants to put on the table.
The value they are bringing.
Definitely. So if you don't have value you are putting on the table, then you might be politically irrelevant. So you must also build your own.
So basically, you do agree with the fact that these parties will, merge into a few other parties in the coming days if they are approved in the first instance.
Definitely. It or leave it.
But you haven't answered the question as to how this affects the electorate. Will it further tear down the opposition?
No, it won't tear down the opposition. That's why I answered it at the beginning.
Okay.
The electorate, they have a person they are following, their loyalists, right? So once he moved to the party there, okay, look at the obedience movement. They actually want Peter Obi that don't be a vice president, right? So they don't have any other choice. Obi is our focus. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So Obi,
All right.
wherever you move to, we move with you. But don't be a second fiddle.
All right.
Do you
Okay.
understand? So the person in question is Obi. So all his loyalists follow him wherever he go. Do you
Okay.
understand? So
All right.
it's not tearing them apart. It's actually they have someone they're following to where they want to decide who rules us in future.
All right, then let me ask you the same question, especially considering the fact that by the publication in some of the dailies today, Obedient is one of those names that is trying to register as a political party. And Peter Obi, as we know right now, is still with the Labour Party. So if that is done, then Obedient becomes, a party, a political party that can field candidates for elections. Do you think, with the movement, we also know that they've been talking about doing some sort of head count of those that are registered members of Obedient movement. What will this portend? Will this further divide or whittle down the effects of opposition, or will it strengthen opposition?
Well, it depends on, you see, everybody is just finding his or her compass in the political terrain now. And we don't even know where some of these political parties will land. But on a clear note, Obedient movement, for me, I would have suggested that it remains as a movement, and let's watch how Peter Obi, the symbol of the Obedient movement, plays out his politics so that they know where they are landing. But if they feel strongly that they will have to be a political party, then they must bring something different to the table. They must, by now, begin to decide what will be the ideology of the political party, the philosophy of the political party, and the manifesto of the political party. Not just registration. And I'm even surprised that they are coming up with two names for registration. You have Progressive Obedient Party, POP, and Obedient People's Party. So which one are we holding on to? Does that suggest division? Does that suggest that the House was not put together properly before they put forward their papers for registration?
When you want to register for CAC, you submit two names. And there will be
but this is not the case. This is not the case. Yes, I know. So they need to.
Obedient People's Party, OPP.
Yes.
Okay.
And
that,
POP.
And
that reminds
another
me
one,
of
Progressive Obedient Party, POP.
Progressive Obedient Party, POP. The OPP reminds me of a song back in the.
Okay. So for me, they shouldn't be in a haste. They should put their house in order. And you see, the beauty of this group is that the demography suggests that they are basically youth. Between the ages of maybe.
Okay, so if you were to give
40.
advice now, if you were to advise the obedient movement,
Yes.
what would your advice be? And if you also were to advise INEC, let's have different angles to it now. If you were to give INEC, some sort of advice, especially as now they are having 110 applications, which might be added to the 18 that we already have, what would your advice be?
You see, my advice to the obedience is that they shouldn't be in a rush. They shouldn't be in a haste without doing proper due diligence before putting their form forward to
Do you
INEC.
really think Nigeria needs more political party at this point in time? Adding up the 19 that we have already. Do you think we need more political parties?
Most of the political parties are in ICU.
So why wouldn't those parties be revived? Or maybe them coming up to form a measure a coalition? Why go for new parties?
If you register a new political party, for instance, if I were to advise INEC, like you asked, I would feel strongly bad if they don't register this obedient movement. And I'll tell you why. Because
you feel bad if they don't register
the obedient movement party.
Either the OPP or the POP.
Whichever one.
Whichever
so
one.
I'll feel bad. You know why I'll feel bad? These are youngsters, mainly youngsters, except for a trickle, a sizable number of elderly people that are in their maybe 50s, 60s, But the majority of those who form the obedient movement are between 18 and 40. So these people, majority of them have not even tasted power before. They have not been in the corridors of power.
Okay.
Why don't we register them and let's see how they play out?
Register them so they taste power.
Why not? No, they can take power if they are well organized. If Macron, in his early 40s, could be the president of France, then what makes you go on? Was not married.
Yaya Bello, in his early 40s as well, became a governor.
Let me tell you, Yaya Bello is just one. And as much as you see delinquents in the elderly, you can also see in the youth.
All right.
So it's not about the age.
It's not about the age. My own is let them come together.
Register everybody.
And do something different from the
register
norm.
Everybody or register obedience.
How can you register 110 political parties?
Okay.
Some of them,
register as many as you can.
It's just like those days of Jonathan when licenses of radio and television was a free-for-all thing. Some people got 10 licenses and kept them. Now they are selling them.
That was the whole idea.
Yes,
in the first instance.
So these political parties, some of them, I know of a political party that was registered. 5 political parties that was registered by just one man in Benin. And so anytime anybody comes and say, they chase you out of your political party, I have one here that you can use, and you pay.
All right then. So, okay, let's as we make to wrap up, your advice to INEC and anybody else.
They can't disenfranchise people. Since there is no law that says you must restrict the registration, right? Even if they are 200, INEC will still register them. Because even registering them is a way of INEC getting revenue. Because you don't register them for free, right? They'll get revenue because they also need to make more money. So the thing is, and once they register them, I know there's a due they will pay every year. So that makes also more sense to INEC. Once there are no rules restricting people from registering, the only thing they could do is that we know you as obedient movement. You can register 2 parties. That becomes, why will you register 2 parties? Unless if it's 2 different people. OPP, obedient movement. POP, obedient movement. I will even advise that OPP is good. They can use it so they play the song to correlate them on a lighter note. But they should not, I must not submit 2 political party names to be registered.
Or do you perceive this as a division already?
No, it's not a division, it's a strategy. The question also is that in future, if Peter Obi is no longer interested in political party, remember, this also become a royalty because his name is what was used to register a party. OPP,
yeah, but it's an English word. Obedience. Obedience is an English word.
So he can sue anybody because, yes, now because in English, then there's what we call, we have a pronoun, something that adds to something that makes it a full thing. Once you remove that in the order become meaningless, right? So it could also come tomorrow. So the name of that political party, you could say that the names are not neutral. As it's now, all allegiance is because this is Peter Obi.
Okay.
It's the brand, and it's the brand we are looking at. So what I would just advise the movement is that take one of the names that you feel comfortable with and register it, not registering two names for one person, which is not too good.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's move on to another conversation. Governor Otu Bags Ukachukwu vows to deliver Tinubu's mandate in Anambra State. Oh, well, let's discuss this when we come back.
Thank you so much for staying with us at VOP this morning. As the race for the Anambra governorship heats up, APC candidate Prince Dr. Nicholas Ukachukwu has launched a nationwide push for party solidarity, beginning with a strategic visit to Cross River State Governor Senator Basi Otu. Welcoming Ukachukwu in Calabar, Governor Otu praised him and his vision and capacity, assuring him of unwavering support and a commitment to actualize President Bola Tinubu's directive to go and get me Anambra. Accompanied by top APC figures, including National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje and Deputy South Chairman Chief Ima Enuku, Ukachukwu's visit signals the start of a calculated national outreach, with eyes set on unseating incumbent Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo of APGA. Ukachukwu is rallying heavyweights and their endorsements in a bid to transform Tinubu's marching order into a political reality by November 8, 2025. We still have with us in the studio Daily Fanny Voices and reporter and VOP TV in-house analyst, and Dr. Ganiyu Oluwashola, who is the Managing Director of KJB Professional Services. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us to this second topic of conversation. I would like to start with you, Mr. Fanimo. Now, we're getting another mandate again from Basi Otu that says, go get me Anambra at this point in time. Remember the president made such statement when it was Edo State governorship election last year. And what happened actually was Edo was taken by APC. We have Ondo also still happened. And now we're getting to Anambra, where we've seen APGA become the only party that have been producing governorship or governors in that particular state. Do you think that this time around with Ukachukwu, we're going to see a shift in that particular mandate that has been there for Anambra people for so many years now?
You see, for a governor to be, an incumbent governor to lose his seat, there are some things that you will notice before the election. One of it is crack within his political party. 2, unearthing certain things that were considered secret that could be used against the governor. 3, people decamping from that political party to another political party as the election builds up. Between now and November 8th, I think we have only about July, August, September, October. We have just about 4 months away and some few days. And some of those things we have not witnessed against Soludo. And so it is like sloganeering when people say, go and get this, go and get that. I told you before the election that PDP, no party can win on those states. And I gave you the details. So it's not a question of because somebody said it, that was why they voted that one.
What do you have to say about the Edo State election too? Someone said something and it happened.
Edo State election, it was trouble within. Just the same way there was trouble within in Osun that propped up Adeleke. Aregbesola and Oyetola were at loggerheads before the emergence of Adeleke. And that's the result you get. So, Soludo, I've not seen anything up to this moment. Maybe tomorrow, I don't know. But up to this moment, I don't see anything that will assist Soludo in the next coming election.
All right, let's bring you into this conversation, Dr. Oluwashola. During the time the president visited Anambra State to inaugurate some projects, Soludo made a statement, "I stand with progressives." That is all he said. He also threw a jab to the person who he said the other time he came to Anambra was to commission a brewery and all that. Now, are we seeing this statement of Soludo more like shooting himself on the right foot over the fact that another man, actually, who also happens to be with the APC, a progressive man now, is also coming in to contest this particular seat or this election with him in November 2025, with the whole political bigwigs, more like from APC now, championing or backing Okachukwu, who has been there for some time, playing Udo underground politics in Anambra State?
So that's a brilliant question. Anambra, historically, that is the stronghold of AFGA, All Progressive Grand Alliance. Take it or leave it. It's just like you can't take Lagos from APC, right? They would, like a saying in my local data, we die here, right? That is AFGA for you. AFGA was registered by Okori in 2002, right? So AFGA have been around for approximately 23 years. Remember, yeah, they've been around for approximately 23 years. So AFGA also is a snowball from a political party, we call it United Progressive Grand Alliance. That was their name before it snowballed into AFGA, right? And so over time, when they want to even form a APC, when ACN and every other part of AFGA moved to APC, right? And some of them have been, but till today, Anambra still remain the stronghold of AFGA. You will also recollect in 2017, before Soludo moved to AFGA, it was on the platform of PDP, and PDP was the giant of Africa then. And it's as if that, when he discovered that he has been losing over time, so he now switched to AFGA. That's when he clinched the ticket, right? So when Soludo said, "I stand with progressive," AFGA is also progressive, All Progressive Grand Alliance. So it could be a political statement, right? But take it or leave it. The founding fathers and the stronghold of Anambra State still remain AFGA, right? You can take all other states, but that state, so it's also a statement. Either you like, you say our sitting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is wearing two caps. Is the father of the country, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is also the leader of the All Progressive Party, right? So and also as a leader of a party, that's what we call a mandate. A mandate, if it's like an MDCU, you have a mandate to your full soldier that you must get me this is your KPI, key performance indicators. So if you don't perform here, forget, you might either lost your seat, right? So he also has the luxury of decision to also tell them that go and get me Anambra. It's a discussion. Also, it's a decision from a political party. So everyone has a right and free to make their own declaration. But take it or leave it. You can talk about Osun State. Osun State has been a mixture of both this party here or there. Talk about Ondo State. Ondo State has been always primarily APC, right?
But can you say the same thing about Delta State that since 1999 have been with PDP? But we just saw that Delta State today belongs to APC, as the case may be, over the fact that the governor and the members of the state assembly decided to migrate to APC. So when you're talking about AFGA now holding so much strength or power in Anambra State, can you perceive that might be a way a change can happen and incumbent to be ousted in the November election?
So in that way, you could say that what happened in Delta is not happening in Anambra. Nobody is switching party. Even you will see those members of the political party in Anambra, they are loyal. You will not hear that maybe their House of Assembly or the governor switched to one point. Once you switch, you lose your next election. Because everyone in Anambra, they are loyalists to the core. So what happened in Delta State, all their leaders practically moved, right? And do not forget, people follow someone that is representing a political party. And those people were appointed into that office because of their personality and that political platform. And those personalities now switched over and said that this is where I am now. And because they're switching over, people in that state, they might come for them, right? But when you talk about Anambra, take it or leave it. Anambra is still the stronghold of Africa.
So now, let's bring in what if scenario into this particular conversation. What do you think will happen if at the end of this November 8th election, APGA lost, or maybe the ticket, or rather the seat now move over to another progressive party, which is APC. Recall what happened during the primary election. Ukachukwu, according to what some persons said, who were aggrieved, well, of the opinion that Ukachukwu never happened to be the sole winner of that ticket, but it was given to him. At the end of the day, he became their flag bearer for the next election. And what if at the end of the election, APC managed to be the winner in Anambra State?
I don't imagine.
You don't see that happening.
And I don't see it happening.
Okay.
Not at all. Because we have precedents. When you look at other people that are there for the position of the first citizen of Anambra State, they practically move from one political party to APGA. Right? Okay. Look at the number of times that Soludo contested and he couldn't win. He need to switch party. He moved to APGA.
So you think
immediately switched party, he won the seat.
All right. So you think Anambra is stuck with APGA and nothing can change that?
For something to change that for now.
For now. Okay. Oh, you seem to align already.
Yes.
Okay, but what role is Ukachukwu playing in all of this? What does he represent in all of this? Because we're seeing a sitting governor, coming out public to say, look, I back you up and I intend to deliver the president's mandate. What does Ukachukwu represent in all of this? You don't understand the question?
I don't understand the question.
Ukachukwu, Governor Otu backing Ukachukwu, who is the candidate of the APC in all of this. What role? Now, let me put a little more context to it. Yesterday, while you were here during a newspaper review, when one of the guests cited the role that Sam Anyanwu played in elections in Imo State. He went there to contest without actually having an intention to contest. And according to the guest,
photograph and name didn't feature in the ballot.
According to the guest, is a night before the election, or some nights before the election, he was seen in the government house taking away his own share of the national cake. And then he wasn't even on the ballot at the end of the day, which basically made it easier for the APC to take Imo State. So my question again, what role do you think Ukachukwu, the candidate of the APC, represents in all of this, seeing that a governor is, Governor Otu now, is backing him up and is saying that, look, we will, uphold the president's mandate?
You see, politicians, the more I look at them, the more they amaze me. They know their target, but they never tell their followers. From all indications, what I've seen about these APC candidates in Anambra is just push and push to the extent that the president and members of APC will be impressed to the extent that if APC becomes the party that wins that election in 2027, it's a short ticket for him that will become minister.
I didn't get that, sorry.
I said, if APC should win presidential election in 2027, and he has put in so much and losing, there is a sure bet that he will become a minister of the Federal Republic.
This is not the first time Ukachukwu is coming up in Anambra State. He has been there, and also this particular man we're talking about, or we're looking at this point in time, I've tried his best to make sure he also touched the life of the people. He also has his own followers. He also have the people who also believe in him. They are championing his cause. They are preaching his gospel. They are talking about him. So are we not seeing the possibility of this man at this point in time coming up to say, or rather clinching this particular ticket, or you still do not believe that he is genuinely interested in becoming the governor of Anambra State during this election coming up in November?
In any election, there will be candidates, there will be pretenders, and there will be mood. And there will be also run.
So where does Ukachukwu fall in place? In the 4 categories you made mention of now, where does Ukachukwu fall?
He's a candidate.
Oh, he's a candidate, okay.
But there is no way.
There's no way.
When you say there's no way, no more. You know, in Anambra State, for example,
you are painting a scenario.
In this state we're looking at.
That what if?
No, wait, I'm moving away from the what if. I'm moving away from the what if now at this point in time, Delifani. Now, in Anambra State, yes. The party actually have a particular man whom they so much push for. I'm talking about Abgana having Dim Chukwemeka Ojukwu to be the face of the party at the point in time, as the case may be. But later we heard, or rather we saw a memo, a press release, restricting politicians from using his face or using his name as person who endorsed them for them to run under that particular party. And just recently, we saw the wife of Odimegwu Ojukwu being appointed as a minister also under APC-led administration, which some persons come up to say she's not going to take that. She will say no to it. The major aim should be this, the major aim, but she is still the minister with this present administration. Now, are we not seeing a situation whereby APC will leverage on the fact that APGA is not really the way it should be over the fact that some things have actually changed in that particular party to take over that position in Anambra State?
Nothing would change. And I'll tell you why. You see, the fact that some people said Abga, the warlord, Odumegwu Ojukwu, is the face. Everybody knows that Ojukwu created that party. And we have parties, apart from these 2 dominant parties in the American system, there are some other smaller parties that they just play within their little enclave. So what we are saying is, Abga for now is too formidable for anybody to upset. No matter the permutation, no matter what you feel, no matter how you feel, the point is a groundswell of opinion. And nobody has come out to say Soludo has done something that would make him lose that election. I've not seen.
All right then. Okay.
Even this man, Ukachukwu, that you are talking about, he has not said one particular thing that will make him defeat the incumbent. And he has not faulted any of this man's policy to the extent that will be used against him. So how do you now judge that somebody wants to come and upset? Because for you to upset an incumbent...
She asked the question. It was just... it's a question.
For you to
it's up to you to answer the question or not to answer the question.
Wait. For you to upset an incumbent in an election, you must work 3 times than the incumbent.
And with the heavyweights backing him up, you don't think that some work is going on the ground?
Heavyweights.
You don't think so?
When Soludo himself has connected to the top.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, talking about connections, the president wants... the president has made it clear that the APC, the doors of the APC, is open to everybody. All comers are fair. Just come. In fact, he expects more people to join the APC. All right? And my question here is, at what cost? Because the president has to be given something. Some of these people want political power. For example, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, he wants re-election. And now he has gone to the APC. But we also know that there are people in Akwa Ibom who are members of who have been long-time members of the APC, and they also want to get into positions of power. What would you say? I mean, I know you don't work for the president, but as an analyst, what would you say would be the cost of this open door policy that the president has adopted, embracing everybody, promising everybody to either retain or get whatever they want as long as they join the APC? At what cost? And who bears the brunt of it? Nigerians?
That's a brilliant question. Everything comes with a cost.
Indeed.
Yes, and there's a saying that said that once you pay the price, right, then you win it, right? And also, when you look at the president, give it or leave it, he's a good strategist. If he's a marketer, he's going to make more sales, right? And you will also agree with me that he appears to be someone that is not selfish, that is not self-centered, and that is ready to share with everyone. And so when you have those kind of people, right, they will have a lot of people on their side, right? Like I said, that if you take the risk, you don't take the risk without a reward. So anyone that make a move and say that I am taking a risk, look at what happened. Oh, Showumi, right? Is a risk he's taking, but there must be a reward for him, right? So when you look at a lot of things like that, it's an open door policy. Remember I said at the ab initio that is a man wearing two caps. As the father of nation, who is the president, is also the leader of the party, right? And he wouldn't want the party to die under his administration, right? And remember also, all of them, they are aiming to 2027. They want to clinch the party. And the most smartest person will be the one to clinch the ticket. And do not also forget that it's a game of number. The number of people you have on your side, especially the leader of people, right? You see, a wise person don't target the follower, you target the leader. Because you know, once you pick a follower, you just lose one person. But once you pick a leader, you've gained around 10 or 100 people on your side. That is what a brilliant person will do. So, if saying that we have an open door policy, remember, even before now, during the time of Buhari regime, it's that once you come to APC, your sin will be forgiven, right? So, it might have an economic implication, and also might have a kind of political implication, but take it or leave it. It's also, it's a game of number. Okay, take for instance also, if perhaps you want to get a loan from the bank will say that, oh, we are going to give you, oh, we can't go less than 19%. And when you have the huge number you are bringing to the table, they say we will shift the goalpost. Don't worry, we'll give you an interest rate of 22% or 24%. So it shows that we can come to the negotiation table. Remember, so now coming to the APC as a political party, right, they are trying to, because they don't want to leave any stone unturned. Because they are not even concerned about the PDP. If you are going to ask me, the number one person they are concerned about is the obedient movement. Because those are the ones that are giving them sleepless night. And so they are looking at, okay, what could break their bone? They also know that they might be in talk with Kwakwanso, which is the leader of the Northern Political. So they now decide that, let us draw this man closer, the leader of ANPP, right? Let's draw him closer. Once we give him a joker, come and take the vice president role. Then once you give him that role, automatically everyone from those sides, they followed him. And so once they could follow him, people will say that, oh, since he's not buying the North, it now depends on who has the voice of the North. They will now say that is our son. Let him do it. So it's actually a game of number. And now you can, that's why you see that in a strategic place, you see a smart person have a chess on his table and look at what is the next chess to play. And before you can play the chess, you would have think through or assume the line of thought of your opposition.
Okay.
So once you assume the line of thought of your opposition, then you take more strategic move so that you don't get
So you don't
blocked.
think that's what made Rabiu Kwankwaso not to join the merger? You recall that 2022 Nigerians were talking about possible merger and all that, if you know, for the next election and all that. So you don't think that which stopped him from going for a merger will now stop him or not stop him or permit him to go for a vice presidential ticket?
Now this is they are already dangling something to him. He has never been a VP before.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, and you know that, you know I said something. In my line of business, they say if you take a risk, you don't take a risk without a reward. So it's a risk. If I'm risking XYZ I'm gaining something, a vice president. If I become a vice president, the tendency for me to become a president. So this is strategy.
All right,
and when
then.
you see somebody that can put this thing on the table, and this is what is actually affecting all other parties. Every other person are selfish.
Okay.
They are self-centered. But if you see somebody that has an open mind and say, come, we are going to discuss this
All
thing
right.
and I'm going to
Okay.
give you this. Then he comes and say, oh, I don't have anything to lose. I have something to gain. And so they come to that party and everybody feel good.
All right then. Okay. We have joining us James Ugochukwu, who is an election analyst and good governance advocate, General Secretary, West Africa Civil Society Forum. Now, James, just to make contact with you, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, you might need to unmute
Thank you for having
the
me.
microphone. Okay, well, I can't hear you. But anyway, this is just to make contact with you when we come back, as we get into our third conversation, I would like you to let me know, let us know, let our viewers know the cost implication of the president's open door policy. As you know, a lot of those joining the APC want to retain power. What do you think it will cost the president as we go into 2027? I'd like for you to address that when we come back from this break, as we get into our third conversation. Now, what's our third conversation? PDP power struggle deepens as majority of NWC disagree with the appointment of Anyanwu as he makes a return. Oh well, let's talk about this when we come back. Join us again.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
Is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health, without distinction of race, religion, or political belief. On VOP TV, we bring you Health Check, a show that x-rays different health issues and provides solutions with the help of experts in the medical field. Join us every Saturday, 2 p.m. on Health Check. Health Check on VOP TV.
Well, the crisis within the People's Democratic Party, PDP, escalated on Wednesday as 11 out of 19 National Working Committee members firmly rejected the return of Senator Samuel Anyanwu as National Secretary, directly contradicting the stance of Acting National Chairman Umaru Damagan. In a joint statement, the NWC majority also reaffirmed the scheduled June 30, 2025 National Executive Committee meeting, dismissing Damagan's claim of its cancellation and calling his pronouncement misleading and unconstitutional. The rejection comes on the heels of a high-profile announcement by Damagan alongside Governor Bala Mohammed and ex-Senate President Bukola Saraki, claiming Anyanwu's reinstatement and the replacement of the NEC with an expanded caucus meeting. But the NWC bloc pushed back, asserting that no individual or group has the authority to override the National Executive Council decisions under the PDP's 2017 constitution. The NEC is the highest decision-making organ of the party after the National Convention, while they declared warning against attempts to sidestep internal democratic processes. Well, as it seems, the PDP is still undecided to move forward, in as much as they just came off a meeting with INEC very recently. Well, we still have with us in the studio Dele Fanimo, a seasoned reporter and a social and political critic, and also Dr. Gani Oluwashola, managing partner KJB Professional Services. We have joining us virtually James Ugochukwu, who is an election analyst, good governance advocate, General Secretary, West Africa Civil Society Forum, WACSOF. Okay. Good morning to you once again.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Great. Yes, I can. I can hear you a lot clearer now. Now, before we get into this conversation as to the PDP and the dissenting voices in the PDP and the House that is divided against itself, what's your take on the question I asked just before the break as to the cost implication of the president accepting everybody into the APC? And we know that all of this is coming at promises, on the heels of promises to either remain in power or get something, because politicians always want to get something at the end of the day. What's the cost of it? I mean, as an election analyst and good governance advocate, what do you think this will cost the president?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you still hear me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Can you still hear me, please?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you very much once again. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much once again. Normally at this point, we are still in 2025, and I'm seriously disappointed in the political class for prioritizing the 2027 election over every other thing. As a good governance advocate, I think we should respect the fact that we elected these people into government to deliver the democratic dividends and not to be politicking. In line with the Constitution and the Electoral Act, you cannot start campaigning in any form, either softly or openly, before INEC announced the date for the next election. The next election to 2027, or the election timetable of 2027 has not been announced yet. But from all indication now, the political class have abandoned governance, they've abandoned anything that has to do with development, and everyone is focused in the 2027 election. As we speak, a couple of days back, the National Assembly extended the budget cycle of 2024 to 31st of December 2025. So what that implies that we'll be running budget in arrears. This is very shameful. Anyway, to answer your question, what is playing out here is just like the replay of the playbook of 2015. Remember, the kind of political system we run is that of a winner take all. Yes, APC is in power now. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in power, and politicians being who they all are gravitating where the grass is greener. Most of them, shamefully, instead of sitting down to fix their party, they are all defecting, in their numbers. As we speak now in the National Assembly, now I think we are having almost 100 or so lawmakers that have defected so far. The same thing happening in state houses of assembly, not to talk of state governors that have defected as we speak. What that tells you is that we are in a political system that is dangerously tending towards one-party states.
Okay.
And the cost implication to the president now is that what is the guarantee that these people that are defecting to his party actually have the interest of him at heart and the ruling party at heart beyond just retaining their seat? Because the political party system we run here is that you can decamp as you like. Somebody can decamp to a particular party today, and in the next 1 month or so, he may decide to decamp back from the party he decamps from, or decamp to a very
Could it be? Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. Could it be that the president only cares about retaining the presidential seat and cannot be bothered much about other political office holders within the APC? Because do you think he will be able to meet the needs of everybody that has joined the APC? Or is this just about getting him into office again in 2027?
That is the gambit that is going on in the chessboard now. The president wants to retain his seat, there's no doubt about that. And the other people too, most of them want to retain their governorship power, governorship seat. Some of them want to retain their legislative seat and all that. So it's all about we trying to use each other to gain advantage. Indeed. But the challenge is that by the time we get to 2027, remember the way the election, our timetable of election. First of all, we used to have governorship and state houses of assembly election before. We used to have presidential and national assembly election. So, what is the guarantee that at the end of the day, that after the president gets to power, that he will still be there to ensure that the other ones will get to the various governors?
Well, you spoke about early campaigning, but I think some parts of the Electoral Act says, look, it's not campaigning if the word vote is not put out there. If they're not saying vote for this individual, vote for that person, then it's not campaigning. They could have anything else. You know, some have said these are the loopholes in our laws that make it easy for politicians to do things without being caught in the web. But anyway, let's talk about the PDP. The PDP seems to remain a house divided against itself. What does this portend for the PDP?
Well, it's so disappointing actually that most of the founding fathers of PDP and those that joined PDP early enough and have benefited from the party are seen looking at the party getting destroyed. I'm not a PDP member or holding brief for them, but in democracy, what makes it work better than anything else or other form of government is checks and balances, and these are brought to bear by a multi-party system. As it is now, if we see gain of distraction from political party members because of one flimsy reason or the other to the ruling party, portends a very big danger. And as it is now, one cannot say for sure that the PDPs are capable of handling their own crisis because the crisis has lingered for too long. But we're looking at here, chairmanship of the PDP, other leadership and all that, and yet on a daily basis you see faction upon faction coming out, and some people even leaving the party and moving to the ruling party. So with this, you discover that if we have a weak opposition, it will spell doom for our democracy. The opposition needs to be there to be putting the ruling party.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now let's bring it back to the studio now. To you, Dr. Ganiyu. 11 members out of 19 were in support of, Senator Anyanwu leaving or going away or dropping the position of the National Secretary of PDP. This particular thing has lingered so long. Now, do you think this in any way is going to affect the next meeting that they're supposed to hold June 30th? I think in less than 4 days now, they're supposed to have their meeting. Do you think it's going to affect them, given the fact that INEC also returned a letter to them saying that it was not signed by their National Secretary?
I think with what the PDP National Working Committee is saying, that either they like it or not, that it will still hold, that their 100th NEC meeting, because you will agree with me that this meeting is overdue. There was a time they want to have it in Abuja. That was the time their office was sealed by Wiki, right? And now they want to have, because failure to put their house together, the time is running. Every other political party, they're trying to make things to do because of this. So, and you could see also their dispute. Now, Sheima Kide's camp is now different from Wike's camp. You know they were in one camp before, and they were loyalists together. So we don't know what came in between them, and that drew them apart. So Shettima didn't just know that, oh, I can take my stand at this point in time. So he has his own faction, while Wike also have his own faction. I think it's high time for them to come into, you know, these are political tussles, and these are people that want to cling to power by all means. But as we speak now, I think, and it's high time that, just like he said, the founding fathers, I think if Obasanjo could wave into it now, a little could Jonathan do for now. So I think if they have the founding father, call them together, speak some senses into them, and so that they could see how they can come up strong. Because if they continue like this, before we say Jack Robinson, December is already approaching. And so what will they do again? So they need to quickly put their house together. And I think this is most things that are the current things are doing, right? This is what they're doing when Obedient was trying to come back to his party to ensure that he put LP together. And so when he discovered that LP is no longer showing, maybe that's when he's telling that, oh, maybe let's form another OPP or POP, right?
Thank you.
So, well, thank you very much, Dr. Gani Oluwashola. Well, that's it on the show today. Big thanks also to Dele Fanimo for joining us. I do believe you will stay into newspaper review. Thank you very much. You don't have a choice. You will. Well, thank you also to James Sukachuku for joining this. I hope you get to stay with us as well. Well, that's it on the show today. Join us again same time tomorrow for VOP this morning. But in the meantime, newspaper review comes up at 10. Join us then. On behalf of my colleague, Fina Okechukwu, and of course the backroom staff, I am Moses Humphrey. Thank you for joining and encouraging you to stay on with VOP TV. Bye for now.